Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where in today's audio-visual extravaganza we have an interesting lower tier battle here on the North American server. This is unusual because there are no bots, which is quite common on the North American server at lower tiers because there aren't as many players. I don't know if this means World of Warships is becoming more popular, but I suspect it's probably more because everybody's trying out and working their way up the new Pan-American cruiser line, which is exactly what Mr. Destructo here is doing in the Tier 5 Pan-American light cruiser La Argentina. This is actually a Royal Navy Arethusa class light cruiser. Well, it started off as a Royal Navy Arethusa class light cruiser. It was modified to suit the needs of the Argentine Navy, and they took ownership of it in 1939, so nice to see ships that actually existed. And it's nice to be able to feature a lower tier battle for a change, because I do enjoy watching them. They tend to be a little less sweaty and try-hard than the higher tier battles, and are no less amusing. Mostly because, well, you have to bear in mind that, this is a tier 5 battle, so Mr. Destructo is top tier. But it's only a one tier matchmaking spread because there are tier 4s involved. And prior to tier 5, you only get a +1 and -1 matchmaking spread. You get protected matchmaking until you get to tier 5. So while this is the worst possible matchmaking that the tier 4s in this battle can have, it's not bad matchmaking. I do have to give World of Warships credit for the newbie protection, but at the same time, a lot of the players in this battle may have less than 100 battles under their belt, so they're going to do dumb shit. Now that doesn't mean it's not funny. But when you see the dumb shit that they do, it's more a case of haha noob rather than haha idiot when you see them doing the same dumb shit at tier 10. It's a more innocent time. You see somebody doing something boneheaded at tier 10 and you're like, what are you doing, you idiot? But you see them doing the same stuff at tier 4 and 5 and it's just like, yeah, well, they have to learn. It's not quite as sweaty or as try-hard. Anyway, the ship, La Argentina, that Mr. Destructo is sailing, as we said, based on the Arethusa class line of Royal Navy light cruisers. Now, Tier 5 and to some extent Tier 6 light cruisers have a bit of a reputation for exploding violently the second anybody so much as looks at them, with the Tier 5 USS Omaha being a bit of a poster child for the idea that light cruisers down at this kind of level are made out of citadels and fuel, wrapped in tissue paper, and that's certainly true of La Argentina as well, which is why Mr. Destructo here is being exceptionally careful, although not as careful as he could have been, to not get spotted by the Congo that he was shooting at with his 9 6-inch guns. Fortunately, the Congo was just loaded with high explosive, but... oh, hang on a minute. Are you going to run aground? You are going to run aground. Your engine's been knocked out. You're not going anywhere fast. Well, the good news is you managed to avoid the torpedoes. The bad news, you beached yourselves just a couple of kilometres away from a light cruiser. So, first blood to the friendly Clemson, who took out an enemy Shen Yang, and second blood to Mr. Destructo in La Argentina for taking out the enemy Clemson. Now, since this thing is basically a Royal Navy Arethusa class light cruiser, it shares certain features with other Royal Navy light cruisers. For one thing, it doesn't get high explosive ammunition. Oh, hello, Mr. Furataka. Now that's a heavy cruiser, and it's reasonably well armoured, at least when it's angled, and at that point it was. He still managed to do about 6,000 damage, but now the Furataka is straightening out and giving him a lovely flat broadside to shoot at. Oof, honestly that Furataka was very, very lucky there, because that was only one damaging hit, but that one hit was a citadel. The previous salvo was 7 damaging hits, but none of them were citadels. You can see what the Furataka was trying to do there, though. He's trying to get him covered behind the island, and he succeeded. It just kind of cost him a bit. So, 6-inch guns, 9 of them, no high explosive ammunition, which, beyond the obvious, is a shame for reasons that I'll go into later when I actually have time, and there's not a lot happening. But the armour-piercing shells do have improved penetration angles. She also has a heel, which is amazing for a Tier 5 light cruiser. Again, she shares a lot of similarities with the British light cruisers upon which she's based. She also gets a short range but long duration hydro, What she does not get, however, is a smokescreen. The smokescreen that he was using earlier was provided by one of his allies. Here comes the fur attacker again. He's still giving broadside. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Shots out. Slightly more than one citadel that time. Now he's starting to nose in, and it's to avoid the torpedoes, and this is going to make things a little bit more tricky because these armor-piercing shells, even though they do have improved penetration angles, they do kind of struggle with nose-in ships, even cruisers. But the fur attacker is on low enough health that he's able to kill him anyway. So there's kill number 2. Mr. Destructo wasn't expecting anything special out of this battle, by the way. I mean, it's only tier 5. He was just exploring the new Pan-American cruiser line. Oh, did you notice when he fired at the Omaha there, when it was nose in, it only did 990 damage? Yeah. Not so much when it turns to give broadside. I mean, he's technically kind of giving broadside at the Omaha as well, but he doesn't have a huge amount of choice because, you know, he's going to run into the island on his port beam. But it's fine, the Omaha's firing high explosive. And he's dead. Difficulty 2 critical. Like I said, the Omaha captain might only have a couple of hundred battles under his belt. Now this Nicholas, on the other hand, you have to treat this guy with a bit more respect. He's got 2 kills under his belt, and the Nicholas is a very capable tier 5 destroyer. And he's turning, which means he's launching torpedoes. Of course, the Hydra is up and running because Mr. Destructo isn't bloody stupid. Kills the Nicholas, but it's cost him. He's got a double fire there. His engine's knocked out. His steering's gone. He is obviously running the last stand skill, so he is able to avoid those torpedoes despite the lack of any engine power or steering. Now that ship, and he has gotten spotted again, the Morvanet, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, that's a Turkish destroyer. Except that is another ship that follows in the Royal Navy's not so proud tradition, like the battleship HMS Agincourt, of being Turkish ships that were seized by the Royal Navy when war broke out. That actually ended up serving as the British destroyer HMS Inconstant. That's an I-class destroyer. And in case you're thinking, hang on a minute, aren't those already in the game? Yes, they are. HMS Icarus is an I-class destroyer, but that's tier 6, and the Morvanet's only tier 5 because reasons. Well, technically, we didn't seize the ship at the outbreak of World War II. We paid for them and gave it back in 1946 after the war. But still, Turkey wasn't too happy at the time. So, while Mr. Destructo is being very, very cautious here, because he is on low health, even though he's managed to recover some by burning his second heal, I was talking about the downside of not having high explosive shells on a light cruiser. Beyond the obvious downside, you don't have high explosives, so if you're shooting at things like angled battleships, if you can't hit the superstructure, you're probably not going to do a huge amount of damage. Not while armor piercing is your only shell choice anyway. But the other downside, and this really is more of a problem for low-tier light cruisers rather than high-tier light cruisers, because it doesn't matter whether you're tier 5 or tier 10. If you're a light cruiser, you've got 6-inch guns. They're the same caliber. So how can you make that effective and competitive on a tier 10 light cruiser? Well, the obvious answer is you give it a much, much faster rate of fire. So, for example, the Minotaur has a 3.2 second reload on the same caliber guns as La Argentina here, which has a 10-second reload. Oh, hold on a second. Hold that thought. We'll put a pin in that. Oh, this could be bad. Oh, it's fine. The Congo isn't even looking this way. I think he's focusing on the friendly Omaha, which is fine. Although, he is sailing straight into... Well, it's possible, because this is a new ship. He doesn't know that La Argentina has torpedoes. But he knows now. There's the Kraken unleashed. Oh, and the Confederate. And the high caliber. I mean, he's only done 92,000 damage, but this is only a tier 5 battle. I mean, even the battleships only have 40 to 50,000 health. So, yep, high caliber. So, anyway, I was talking about why it's especially not good for a tier 5 light cruiser to not have high explosive shells. And the reason is because... while all 6-inch high explosive shells, he's gotten spotted. That's got to be, was it the Morvanet? Or however you pronounce it. Well, I mean, there's a smoke screen, so there's clearly a destroyer there. And there was a destroyer there. And then, yep, there's definitely still a destroyer there. Now, the Hydro is on cooldown. If that is the Morvanet, and he has the slightest bit of sense, he's getting the hell out of that smoke screen right now, because his torpedoes didn't hit anything. But this is a low-tier battle. So, of course, he's not. Yeah, it's too late to start running away now, sunshine. Oh, well. I think this is probably going to be kill number 6. Now, that's a relatively new ship as well. I don't know if it has torpedo launchers on the other side. And Mr. Destructo, well, he knows that he can't launch them from that angle, but he started turning in just in case. And there is, in fact, kill number 6. And thank you for the smoke screen. It would be a shame not to use it. So anyway, I keep going on about these 6-inch high explosive shells, or rather, this ship's lack of them, and why it's so not good down here at Tier 6. And the reason is because a 6-inch high explosive shell, doesn't matter whether you're firing it from a Tier 5 light cruiser or a Tier 10 light cruiser, has the same penetration, which is a problem at Tier 10, where things tend to have a lot more armour. But down here at Tier 5, the high explosive shells are a lot more potent because the targets you're shooting at don't have as much armour, even the battleships. A 6-inch high explosive shell can penetrate 25mm of armour, which at Tier 5 means every destroyer, every cruiser, and most of the battleships that you're going to face. You can't penetrate the belt, but you can penetrate the deck, the bow, the stern, and the superstructure. At Tier 10, the same caliber guns are going to be shooting at, well, a lot of the cruisers have 27mm of plating, and almost all of the battleships... Oh, hang on a second. If this Cordoba's looking in his direction, because he's not quite in cover behind it, can somebody please kill that guy? Anybody? Thank you, team. Thank you, the Koenig. You see, teammates are useful for something. He wasn't quite in cover there behind the island. That Cordoba could have, well, done a lot of damage. Best case scenario, or worst case scenario, sunk him outright. But yes, at Tier 10, most of the, well, not most of, but some of the cruisers have 27mm of plating, and almost all of the battleships have 32mm or more. And even those that don't have 32mm have 27mm, which these guns cannot penetrate with high explosive shells unless you take the inertia fuse high explosive shell skill. And if you do that, you basically set no fires. So, oh, that's the last surviving enemy ship. And there's 5 of them. That poor class Horn over there. He's only Tier 4. Pick on someone your own size. Oh dear. Yeah, so not having high explosive is, particularly if you're in a Tier 5 light cruiser like Argentina here, it's a bit of a bummer. I mean, it's compensated for, I suppose you could argue, if you only have the one ammunition choice, in this case armour piercing, then you don't have to worry about picking the right ammunition type for the situation that you find yourself in. There's no choice to be made. It's armour piercing or nothing. And I suppose that's true. And this 6-inch armour piercing does get improved penetration angles, so it's not that bad at dealing with angled targets, but it's definitely not good. And having the option of firing high explosive not only would kind of raise the skill floor a bit, it would reward choosing your ammunition type appropriately during the course of the battle, rather than just sailing around spamming high explosive at everything, for example, which, you know, certain ship types are wont to do. Yes, mid-tier and low-tier battleships, I am looking at you. He's just launched his, that's a patrol fighter, I think. Yeah, it's not going to do anything, although it might spot the Class Horn. And even if it doesn't spot the Class Horn, if it gets close enough and the Class Horn hasn't pressed P to disable his AA guns, I'm not even sure the Class Horn has AA guns. I think it does. It's Swedish, so it's going to have 40mm Bofors guns. If he sees any anti-aircraft tracer, it gives him a pretty good idea of where that last surviving enemy destroyer is. As do those torpedoes, which have been spotted well in advance by the Clemson over there. So he's heading in the right direction. The question is, are the team going to cap out? Because it doesn't look like the Clemson's going. Oh, I don't know, actually, it looks like maybe he's changing his mind. Maybe he's thinking... Because it looks like he's got the engine boost running. He should be able to catch the Class Horn. It looks like he can't make his mind up. Does he want to go for the cap, or does he want... It looks like he's going for the cap. Which is obviously the safer option. There are 2 of the friendly ships in that cap circle. Yeah, he's going for the cap. And that's fine. It is the safer option. I mean, I've seen teams throw harder games than this before, although it seems kind of unlikely. I think the only real question here is, can they find and sink that last enemy ship before the rest of the team cap out? He's got the hydro running, and he's been spotted. So, another way of finding out roughly where the last surviving enemy ship is, because the guns on this thing don't have huge range, it's only about 12.5 kilometers. Fire the guns. If you suddenly get detected, you know there's an enemy ship within whatever the range of your guns is. And there he is. Oh, he's doing his best, bless him. Of course, he's gotten spotted, so it's just a matter of time. The question is, who is going to get the final kill? As everybody opens up on this poor guy. Does he have the engine boost running? I'm not sure. It's going to affect how much lead you have to give. Oh, that missed. Everybody's missing him. He's doing well. He's jinking and diving and ducking and weaving like his life depends on it, because it is. And oh, those look good. Oh, come on. 55 health. All right. I guess somebody else is getting... Actually, no. No, they're all missing. Hey! There it is. Mr. Destructo with 7 kills and 104,000 damage in a Tier 5 battle in this modified Royal Navy Arethusa class light cruiser, the Argentine Navy La Argentina. He was not expecting great things when he logged in to play this battle. He was just having a casual exploration of the new Pan-American light cruiser line. He certainly did not expect to see the best result he's ever achieved in a game of World of Warships. So well done to you, Mr. Destructo, and thank you for sending that one in. Very entertaining, and I hope everybody enjoyed it, because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.